somewhere along the way, phone calls started feeling strange. Not bad, not impossible, just uncomfortable. Now most conversations happen through texts, short messages, memes, voice notes we can re-record 5 times before sending. And even when someone calls us unexpectedly, a lot of us stare at the screen first, watching it ring, hoping it stops. Not because we hate the person, but because something about real-time conversations suddenly feels exhausting. And honestly, that says a lot about the world we live in now. A phone call demands something. Texting doesn't. Presence. When someone calls you, there's no time to carefully craft the perfect response. No deleting your message halfway through. No thinking for 10 minutes before replying with LOL. You just respond in real time. And for a generation raised online, that level of immediacy can feel strangely intense. Because texting gives us control. Control over our image. Control over timing. Control over vulnerability. You can sound calmer than you really are. Funnier than you really are. More emotionally stable than you actually feel. Texts let us edit ourselves before another person sees us. Calls don't. And maybe that's why they feel so personal now. When you hear someone's voice, you hear everything text hides. Their hesitation, their sadness, their awkward pauses, the moments they don't know what to say. A call exposes emotion in a way texting never does. And I think modern life slowly trained people to avoid that kind of exposure. Because we live in a world built around performance. Online, everyone has time to prepare themselves before being seen. We retake photos, rewrite captions, delete messages, curate personalities. But a phone call is live. There's no filter. And for people who already feel mentally overwhelmed, that can feel draining before the conversation even begins. That's why so many people say things like, "Can you just text me?" Not because texting is better at communication, but because texting feels safer, less pressure, less unpredictability, less emotional responsibility. You can answer whenever you want, disappear for a while, think before speaking. Texting creates distance, and distance feels comfortable now. But there's another reason people avoid calls that nobody really talks about. Silence. Phone calls have tiny moments of silence everywhere. A few seconds where nobody speaks. A pause before responding. A moment to think. Years ago, those pauses felt normal. Now they feel awkward. Because we've trained our brains to constantly fill silence with stimulation. Scrolling. Videos. Music. Notifications. Content every second. So when silence appears during a conversation, it suddenly feels heavy, unnatural, almost threatening. And I think that's part of why so many people feel disconnected lately. We communicate constantly, but rarely feel emotionally close. We send hundreds of messages, react to stories, share reels, reply with emojis. But hearing someone's actual voice, that became rare. And maybe without realizing it, we started replacing connection with convenience. Because texting removes friction. But sometimes friction is what makes interactions feel human. The nervous laughter, talking over each other, random tangents, hearing someone smile through their voice. Those little imperfect moments create emotional closeness. Not polished responses, not perfectly timed replies, just presence. And maybe that's why old phone calls feel nostalgic now. Late night conversations, falling asleep on the phone, hearing someone breathe quietly on the other end. There was something emotionally intimate about it. Not because the conversations were always deep, but because someone gave you their uninterrupted attention. And today, attention became one of the rarest things people can give. Now most people are talking while doing something else, scrolling, cooking, watching videos, switching between apps. Even conversations became multitasked. And over time, we got used to communicating without fully being there. Maybe that's why unexpected calls feel so intrusive now. A call asks for your full attention immediately. And in a world where everyone already feels mentally overloaded, that request can feel overwhelming, even when it comes from someone we care about. But I don't think people stopped wanting connection. I think people became afraid of the emotional energy connection requires, because real conversations are unpredictable. You can't fully control how you'll sound, how you'll feel, or what the other person might say. And texting protects us from unpredictability. It gives us emotional armor. But sometimes I wonder if that armor is also the reason people feel lonelier now. Because the safer communication becomes, the less human it starts to feel. Maybe that's why hearing someone say, like, "Can I call you?" suddenly feels so personal, almost vulnerable. Like they're asking for something deeper than just a reply. And maybe one day people will realize this strange modern irony. We became more connected than ever before, while quietly becoming more afraid of real conversation. If this video made you think, take a moment to like, subscribe, and join the Inner Thinker. We explore the quiet thoughts people rarely talk about. New videos every week.